Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Village of Westmont Planning and Zoning Commission for Wednesday, November 14th, 2018. It is 7 o'clock sharp. May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Carmichael?
Here.
Commissioner Sharp? Commissioner Van Buren is here. Commissioner Thomas?
Here.
Commissioner Bartel? Commissioner Lavoy?
Here.
And Chairman Pill.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Having a quorum, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before you all sit down, if I could ask, we're going to need to just swear each of you in. Very brief, you can respond with a simple "I do." If you'd raise your right hand, and you two gentlemen will need to join us. Do you swear that your testimony tonight will be truthful, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you. And while you're sitting down, a couple of things. Make sure that we silence all telephones, pagers, anything like that. If you haven't already signed in, there's a sign-in sheet at the podium. I would ask that you sign in when you come up to the podium, or you can certainly do it now if you'd like. All right. If there's anybody in the audience who is here for planning and zoning items 18-020 or 18-021, those are both going to be continued on a special meeting which will take place at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, November 28th. So anyone here for items planning and zoning 18020 and 021, those will be continued and discussed in full on November 28th. Our first order of business tonight is the approval of the minutes from the October 10th regular meeting. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Thomas, second by Commissioner Van Buren. Comments or questions on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Van Buren votes yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Lavoy?
Yes.
Commissioner Carmichael?
Yes.
And Chairman Pill.
Yes. Is there anyone from the public who is here to speak on any subject that is not on the agenda tonight? All right, moving on from our open forum, I'd like to just spend a few seconds and review our public hearing procedures. So tonight, I will introduce each item on the agenda. Because of the continuances, there'll be only one item on the agenda tonight. They would normally be in the order they're listed. Please approach the speaking area, sign in, and be prepared for your presentation. We invite the presenting team or the individual to present the agenda item, explaining their item and addressing any findings of fact and hardships as they are relevant to their proposal. There's an overhead projector for all diagrams, as we do have a TV audience at home, and I'd like to stress that everyone needs to speak from the speaking area so that it can be carried and recorded to folks at home. We have thousands of people worldwide watching this. Very, very important. I will then turn to staff for their comments. We'll then open up the public hearing and everyone will have a chance to speak. I will also ask the applicant to address any concerns that come up during the public hearing. After that, each commissioner will offer comments and questions, and the applicant and/or staff will be able to go ahead and be questioned. There'll be a discussion amongst the commissioners. At that point, I will close the public hearing. At the conclusion of that discussion, I'll call for a motion and a second on each agenda item. When a motion is made and seconded, I will request final commissioner comments, and we will then proceed with the vote, which will, if applicable, include the findings of fact. Finally, I'll instruct the applicant on the next steps. Anybody have questions on that? All right. Before we start, I'd like to just take a couple of seconds and do some introductions here. Many of you know that for many years, our community development director was Jill Ziegler, and our chief planner was, we'll just call it Joe. Always have trouble with Joe's last name. Anyway, the two individuals have moved on, and the Village of Westmont has completed their search, and I'd like to introduce Bruce Sylvester, who is our new Community Development Director. He is here via Wisconsin and Niles, and he is already in place. And we had a temporary Community Development Director, Marty Burke, and he is no longer on the job at this particular point. I'd like to say thanks to him for a job well done. Joe's position is currently being filled by another temp, which is Con Savoy, who is with us at least through the end of the year and into the beginning of 2019. And he will work with staff as well as with Bruce as they begin the search for the new full-time planner. Anything you'd like to say, Bruce?
Thanks for the introduction, and I'm very happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Nice to have you here. All righty, we move on now to our open hearing, and we will begin with new business, planning and zoning item 18-019. The Village of Westmont regarding the property located at 39 East Burlington Avenue in Westmont for the following. A special use permit request to allow the addition of a new administrative and vehicle storage and maintenance garage building. B, a zoning code variance request to reduce the front yard building setback. C, a zoning code variance request to increase the maximum height of the fence located in the front yard. And D, a site and landscaping plan approval. Gentlemen, speaking area is yours. And welcome.
Oh, okay.
So I'm Mike Ramsey. I'm the Director of Public Works for the Village of Westmont. Just want to introduce Singh Chu from AECom and Jonas Packer from AECom. These are the design engineers for the project. We've been working diligently for the last 2 years to get this project to you gentlemen tonight to review. I think we've done a pretty good job with this, but please let us know if there's anything you see or want us to correct. We'll be more than happy to do that. So I'm gonna pass it over to Singh, but please, if you have any questions or comments, don't hesitate to ask. I know this is a village project, but we want to be as transparent as possible with the public and with you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike, and good evening to everyone. Thank you for the chance to present on this. So what we're discussing is kind of an expansion or replacement of space for the Public Works Department, and the location is 39 East Burlington Avenue. And so I guess this picture here is just kind of a general concept for the north face of the proposed structure, as you know, looking from kind of across the street on Burlington. And as was mentioned, we have requests for a special use permit along with some variances. The special use permit is based on the property being in the R5 residential zoning location, and basically we feel that we are, I mean, I guess the whole concept has been to be a positive, effect on the community there in the neighborhood. We, on the left there, you can kind of see the area that we are replacing, and it's used by the current Public Works group along with the Parks Department there, and there's just kind of material storage, and you see the existing fence there. We are proposing some landscaping along Burlington there, along with just I think a better looking building. The one thing additionally is that we're hoping that the size of this building, it's not a imposing thing. We've tried to kind of break up the structure, but being the size that it is, it's also intended to be kind of a screening, a barrier to the railroads behind it, so that the neighborhood, at least with noise and just kind of general, activity in the railroad corridor behind there, we're blocking some of that from the neighborhood. So that is mostly what I had on the special use permit. For one of the variances, we're the typical for this residential district would require a 25-foot setback, and really we didn't feel that that was really a possibility in this area due to just one, the location of that water tank behind there, but also just kind of if you look at the other buildings along that Burlington on the south side there, we're kind of matching the existing look of the street, and we're, that space there is really crucial to maintaining just a usable amount of square footage for the building. I think the building as it is already a bit of a compromise. I think, in our discussions, we've gotten to a point where, we've been able to enclose a lot of the, vehicles for the, Public Works Department. It's not, all of the vehicles they would like to enclose, but we've gotten a good amount under the roof there. And, to lose any more of that space would probably just make the site unworkable for this kind of project. And so then the next variance would be for the height of the fence. And I think there's a requirement for a maximum height of 48 inches for an 80% open fence in a front yard in a residential area. And we don't have that. I think our point for this one is that the existing fence there is, also higher than that, and we're intending pretty much to match the height of the existing fence, but we're actually, not nearly the length of fence for, we're reducing the length of the fence just due to the building taking the space. Our fence is really just in two areas where there's two kind of entryways from Burlington, and it's just mostly the space of the gate, has to slide to allow the vehicles in. So next we have a variance request for landscaping, and this is based on the landscaping ordinance requiring a minimum of 50% of open space on the site to be landscaped. And I think we didn't see a way that we could do this just based on really maintaining just, again, that square footage for the building that we need to make this site workable. Kind of in lieu of just a square footage kind of, in the, XY direction, we've tried to kind of along the front there, I think that's that same photo up top that we saw before. We have some trees and some, shrubs that are going up vertically along the front there, even though there's, as we stated before, that the 0-foot, setback, we do have a kind of a 3-foot strip along the edge of the building that we tried to landscape, obviously to be a more pleasing look for the neighborhood there. But in addition to what's on the front there is a space kind of tucked in between the building and the water tower in the back. It's kind of a shaded area, but we're gonna, put some light landscaping there, just some grass, some ornamental grasses. There'll be some shrubs there that are kind of screening some, like the area where the dumpsters would be. And the other thing that I would add is that we're also kind of taking into account that not a part of this project, but kind of already in the plans for the village is a proposed future project that would put trees along the railroad corridor in the back. And, our view is that, that's obviously, even though it's not, directly for this project and not directly on the site, it's really adding to that appeal. And it doesn't come out greatly, but on the bottom left there, that's just kind of an aerial of what the existing site is. And, as I said, between the Public Works and the park's usage of that, of the site right now, we feel that we're really, improving just the look of it. And even though we can't get to the area for landscaping, we're hoping that, we really want to present a better product there. The last slide that I have is not variance, but I think there was maybe some concerns over parking, and so I wanted just to talk about what the concept was there. So we're kind of viewing this property along with the existing water plant and the existing water department building there kind of together. And what our concept there is that kind of we'd have the parallel parking in the front along Burlington. There's 13 existing spaces already with one ADA space, and we would be adding 10, sorry, it says 10 existing. It's meant to say 10 proposed spaces there. Sorry, my copying and pasting was did a poor job there, but it's 10 proposed spaces with one ADA space in front of this new building, and it's 37 proposed spaces again in the back. What we're basing that on is that for the in the Code of Ordinances, we saw that, for public utility, public service uses, it was designated as one parking space for each, 2 employees. And so in the back there, off street, we have 37 proposed parking spaces, and 2 of those would be ADA, and that's serving 52 employees. I think some of that 52 are actually kind of temporary, like summer staff, but we think it's, we just counted it just for the maximum employee count in the facilities there. So that's all I had for my piece.
Okay. Anyone else? I was wondering, Mike, if, I was going to save this for later, but this might be a good time. Would you be able to just take a minute or two and just give us the background of where public work facilities are right now? What's the overall goal? Just so that we have the big picture as opposed to this smaller piece.
Oh, that's great. No, I didn't know how much information you wanted tonight.
We
No,
love to hear you talk.
Okay, I can talk for as long as you want me to talk.
Oh, wow. Let me order pizza.
The current Public Works building at the Street Division, which is located at 328 South Wilmette, which is the corner of 55th Street and Wilmette where the Central Tower Water Tower is, that was built in 1956 on an old city garbage dump site. So that building's been there for almost 62 years now. And I don't know if you've had an opportunity to ever visit that site, that facility, but the building is falling apart. Part of the reason what's driving this is the EPA, Illinois EPA, wants us to remediate some of the soil because that's where our fueling center is currently. And they feel that there's a need there for us to remediate some of the soil around where the fueling center was because of a leak that we had back in 1999. Now, the soil is contained on the site. It has been tested, so no residents are affected by this, but it is right on our site. And unfortunately, if you were seeing where our fueling center is, it's right next to the current building that's there. So we feel we've done some testing, very minimal testing, but some of the fuel that leaked out got underneath the building. So to remediate that, obviously, you have to tear the building down. So if we tear the building down, what do we do with all our employees? So that's part of the reason what's driving this. It's a small part. besides that, the building is in poor condition. If you ever want to come out and take a look, I'd be more than happy to give you a tour anytime you'd like. But that's part of what's driving that. Not to mention the small size. Right now, currently, we're only able to store 12 vehicles in that facility. And depreciation of the vehicles, having them sit outside, the vehicles wear out faster. So we feel at the new facility, our equipment and our vehicles will last longer. I think they'll be in better shape. Combining both water and streets in one location, we'll also be able to share vehicles, so we'll be able to save money in that respect. Ultimately, the goal here, if you can see on it, I don't know if I want to bring it back up or not, but on the diagram, ultimately, once this building is built, down the road, this part of the building will be torn down at some point, and this building will all become one large building. Obviously, the treatment plant, which is back over here, can't get moved. That has to stay permanently. But this part, the bigger part of the building, will be torn down and rebuilt. So this will all look like one continuous building. It won't look like 2 separate buildings. That's the goal here. So that was something that the village trustees wanted us to do. They wanted us to break these in different stages. So this is stage 1. Stage 2 will be to tear down the current street division, remediate that soil, build a new storage facility there. We'll keep all our material storage there and a cold storage bay for some vehicles. Another part of this project down the road, it will be a new fueling center, which will be just south of the fire department currently where they're doing the stormwater work right now. There'll be a fueling center there for all of village vehicles and possibly either school districts, park districts, maybe other municipalities might want to join in and use that fueling center, but that'll be another part of this project. A new water tower at the street division. That water tower was also built in 1956. That at some point will need to be replaced. That'll be part of this. We need a new salt dome, so that'll be another part of this project. So it's just stages, stage. So this is just the beginning of a long process of things that need to be fixed with the Public Works Department. Now the water department, the part that's going to get replaced at some point, was built in 1961. That we bought from a water filtering company. It was never designed for a public works facility. The roof is falling off. Actually, part of the times when the wind gets enough, you can actually see the roof lift off that building a little bit. It's a little scary. We've had bricks fall off. So both facilities, nevertheless, need to be replaced. So this is just step 1 of many steps. Hopefully over the next 5, 10, 15 years, we'll get these buildings replaced and have facilities that we can be proud of and be able to serve our residents better. But a couple things that we wanted to address with our public is, I'm sure all of you have taken a train. First thing you see when you come into Westmont is what? You see the back of the current Park District facility. There's dirt piles, there's garbage, there's old vehicles stored there. It's just an eyesore. So one of the things we wanted to make sure is make this visually appeasing when you're coming into the village. So with us landscaping the corridor there, that's going to be a big part of it. So when you're on the train, the first thing you're going to see is going to see beautiful trees, beautiful flowers, beautiful landscaping, and hopefully a brand new beautiful building that you can be proud of, that when people come through you can actually see it. Instead of dirt piles and garbage and a salt dome and old vehicles stored there. Another thing we wanted to address was our residents that are crossing the Park District where this building's going to be built. They complain about 2 o'clock in the morning, beep, beep, and beep, beep, vehicles making all the noise, because when we dump our loads of dirt, we're dumping them there. Now with the new facility, it's going to be a lot quieter. They won't hear the train as much. You won't see the water tower. That's another complaint. People, they don't like looking out their window and seeing a gigantic water tower. This building will be a very appeasing look. It'll look really nice to look out your window and see a nice, beautiful building with nice landscaping in front instead of a dirt pile and a bunch of old vehicles. So we try to address as many complaints as we possibly could, and I think we've accomplished a lot of it. There's other things we could have done, but we're limited on space and obviously with money. So we're doing the best we can with this project.
Great, I appreciate that. Thank you, Mike. All right. Staff, is there any comments either of you gentlemen or both of you, if you'd like to, would care to make on this?
Just very briefly, wanted to point out that in your packets are some comments and review letters from other village departments and outside consultants, including the Fire Prevention Bureau, the consultant engineers we use at Burns and McDonnell, the landscape consultants we use, Gary Weber Associates, and then our village forester. And any concerns they've had have been addressed or will be addressed. And then for the Community Development Department, which at the moment would be Con and I, we've reviewed it and we're supportive of the request.
Great, thank you. John,
Yes.
anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, just one comment, one question. The applicant mentioned that they were seeking a variance for landscaping. I'll point out that's not a zoning ordinance provision that they're seeking a variance from. Technically, they're seeking a waiver from the village board for a landscaping provision in Chapter 80 of the Village Code of Ordinances, so you don't have to worry about that tonight. And my one question, if I can jump in with a question
Please.
now.
Yes.
Just might clarify things. You showed on the site plan 10 new parking spaces out in front along Burlington.
Yes.
It appears that those are in the public right-of-way as opposed to on the property itself.
Correct.
So those would be available for the public to use as well as employees?
Yes,
Or
I think
visitors?
we weren't, I think it was intended more for like visitor parking, but I think it was discussed that those would be available to the public.
Yeah, we're planning on, I don't know if you can bring that back up or not, but the parking in the back behind the current water department, that'll be designed for the employees to park. The ones in the front will be for public and anybody who's handicapped. They'll be ADA accessible, kind of like how the ones at the water department are currently used. The 13 existing spaces, nobody parks there right now currently from our employees. That's just set up for the public. It's going to be the same thing on the other side with the street division side, the street department part of the building. That'll be 10 existing spots that'll basically use for public parking. We still have plenty of spots in the back for all our employees. The only time it might be an issue, it would be in the summertime. We have seasonal. If we have seasonal, then we'll have them park on the 13 existing spots in front of the water department. But I don't see that being a problem.
So as I understand it then, this meets if you exclude those right-of-way parking spaces, they still have sufficient parking on site to meet code, so there's no waivers or anything we need to do from a zoning perspective?
Yeah,
for
correct. Realize the pages aren't numbered, which we need to fix that in the future. I think it's page 3 of the staff report indicates that, as described earlier, the zoning ordinance requires for this type of use 1 space for every 2 employees. And based on the number of employees at 52, we've calculated about 21 and a half, 22, whatever you want to use. They have more than adequate space on site, not counting the fact that there would be available spaces, most likely, most times of the day on the street as well.
Great, thanks. That's all I have.
To give you an idea, we currently have 32 full-time employees, so that's who works all year round. We have 12 seasonal employees, so we looked at 44. We even looked at worst-case scenario, 52 would be the very worst, and we won't even get to 52. But right now, the most we have at any given time would be 44 employees.
Great. Okay, thank you, Mike. All right. Next up, I'm going to open up the public hearing, and I'm going to ask if there's anyone in our audience who would like to come up and address this item, either for or against. We seem to have one gentleman in the back, and he is awake now. All right, seeing as we have no one here, we will move on to commissioner comments, and I'm going to begin this evening with Commissioner Thomas.
Hit it. The variance for the front yard setback makes sense because the buildings that are already present there, you're just gonna line up with it there, and there's no sense, you can't give that space away, because like you mentioned, you're gonna need it in the back. And the fence also, 6 is just security-wise, you need that instead of a residential 4, and that makes perfect sense, and I support the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Commissioner Lavoy.
Yes, I have several questions and clarifications. On the 10 parking spaces in front, I'm concerned about the streetscape, okay? There's really not a lot of room there as far as green space. And is there any consideration, maybe from staff you can help with this, but is it something that we could consider putting the parking spaces that are listed on the screen now as the 10 existing spaces that will remain on the other side of the street, and increase the ability to get green space in there, or maybe provide the 1 space for ADA, or, pull up UPS guy or whatever coming in the front door, because that will leave you a whole lot more space to get some green area in there. Because I certainly don't mind walking across the street to go into the Public Works building. Just a thought, maybe it wasn't thought of before.
It was. That's a very good point. We looked at every option, even having parking on the other side, even down in front of the water department. The problem is, if you drive down, there's utility poles all along there. We would have to pay ComEd, Comcast to bury all those utilities if we want to use that as parking. Not to mention there's an alley there. We would have to, so the parking with the poles, we tried to figure out exactly how many parking spots we could get. We went out there with our village engineer, Noriel, and we marked it off. The most we could get was 6 spots. That's with leaving the utility poles there. Now, if we took the utility poles down, we could get it between 10 and 12 more spots, but the cost just wasn't cost effective to do that. So we kind of looked into that, but it didn't meet the need that we really were trying to meet here when we want to get as maximum as number of spots we could possibly get for the parking in front of the building. If we went on the other side, we're going to lose 4 to 5 parking spots.
Yeah,
So-
no, I understand we're gonna lose, but it's
Yeah.
something that it's a trade-off because of the residential area to the north.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to help maybe look at it from a different perspective, but, you know, we have a lot of room in the back, and we don't have that many visitors. I'm sure we don't. So anyway, it's just a thought that, you know, hey, maybe if we squeeze 6 and put the other 4 in the back, now we've got that whole, the bigger concern really is the building.
Correct.
The building is long, the roof line is the same all the way across. You know, I'm kind of hoping that it'll look a little better once you go final, but it's something that, without any breakup in the roof line or any kind of brick change in color or any kind of accent color on a column for the brick, it looks like this long, flat roof building that's there now, and it really doesn't lend itself to anything else. Maybe if you could change the roof line a little bit to break it up, and a brick to break it up might help, but that landscaping would certainly help. Even if we took it down and put the 4 spaces, so we don't have the requirement of moving poles, and took those 4 spaces and increased the green space across the front of the building, it would look a whole lot better. I think, in my opinion, not just my opinion. But since it's on our agenda for the landscaping, I thought I'd mention it, that there might be a couple other alternatives you might want to consider.
Okay.
Secondly, what's up with the water tower? I see on the demo plan that some of the appurtenances for the water tower are being removed.
I'm sorry, I missed that part. You mean the tower in the back, the ground
Yeah,
storage
yeah.
tank? Something's going to get removed from that? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, it looks on the demo plan that some of the things are being removed.
There could be some
Piping,
piping that
Yeah.
needs to be removed and just kind of shortened up. There's like a drain line coming out to the north that would be buried underneath the building, and the water line that's coming from the water tower going north to Burlington currently sits kind of right at the wall of the building, so we're just moving it over into the space, into
Okay.
the driveway instead of under the building.
Yeah, okay. Any problems with, well, I'll just mention it, because I've dealt with this exact situation myself, about the structural issues related to the water tower in relation to the detention system. That would be something that you might want to take a look at, because of the proximity and having an over-excavated area right next to the water tower.
For the
I want to make sure
detention.
that it's not going to affect the water tower itself. And then another thing, I don't know, Mike, if you thought of this, but if you have to do work on the water tower, we got to get a crane in there. Where's it going to come from? And I think it's across the back.
Yeah. You're talking like maintenance, painting it? Yeah, they have a drape system that we looked into. It's a little more costly to have to do that, but we use those all the time when we paint tanks. We used it when we used South Tower. We painted that recently. Yeah, painting it, I've talked to engineers, I've talked to Dixon Engineering, I've talked to other engineer firms that engineer for painting and maintaining water tanks. Should not be an issue. We have enough space there that we can put a drape system around it, so when they work on it, it won't affect either the train tracks or the building itself.
Okay. And while you're up at the podium, since I did get the full plans, I can't help but comment on them, right? I mean, not in our, what we're looking at tonight, and it won't affect, my position on any one of those, but there's a couple things that I noticed that might be of assistance, and that is the size of the elevator.
Okay.
Because the elevator does have access to the mezzanine. I don't know what you're putting up there, but you might want to consider oversizing that a little bit, because it's tough to get to the mezzanine through a 3-foot door, but if your guys want to roll tires up to the mezzanine, it's going to be kind of tough to do.
Do you want to talk about that? Or, I mean, I can if you want.
Well, the,
Can you please come up?
without, we have storage inside the building mezzanine
Yeah,
on both sides of the floor plan. There is access, and the elevator is going to be sized accordingly for some of the items that might come up that way, but mostly the stuff that will be lifted up there will be through forklift on the ground floor and then lifted up to those mezzanine levels. So
Okay.
that's how we are using those.
Okay, I just thought
Yeah.
I dealt with another public works facility, and that was a big concern of
Sure.
getting product off the elevator and
Right.
to that mezzanine.
It's not meant for bringing up
Okay.
equipment.
Didn't know what
Yeah.
Mike planned on doing with that, but yeah, I just thought that was something, but, I do have, one question. Just from a taxpayer perspective, I wouldn't want to see the exercise room. Our public works guys are on their feet all day long, every day, and I don't think they're going to use it. I just think that we're paying money for that.
You're not the only one who had that opinion. We've taken it out.
Yeah.
We're not going to have it there. It was a health and wellness recommendation from our Health and Wellness Committee,
Sure.
which I'm part of. And it was a great benefit for our employees because exactly what you said, they work all day. It's an easy opportunity for them to get a workout in without having to drive somewhere else to get a workout in. But the cost, talking to our village board, just it wasn't worth it. So we took it out. And that room will be used, it'll be reused for something else. We're still trying to figure out how we're going to reuse that room, but currently it will not be a workout facility. That was taken off.
Okay. I don't have any other problems with what is on our business for tonight, so I think I'll just end my questions now. I'm in favor of the project, and I think that it'll be good, but it doesn't hurt to make these kinds of comments to make an overall project even better than it already is.
No, we appreciate it. We want to be transparent. We want to hear your comments. We want to build the best building we possibly can. And you guys are the experts. So you guys are the ones that giving us the feedback. That's what we want to hear. So we're always welcome to that. So whether it's tonight or if you think of something a week from now, call me, and say, hey, Mike, by the way, I thought of something else. Believe me, I want to hear it. I might not always agree with it, but I want to hear it, and I'll do whatever I can to make it work. If it's something you really strongly want us to do, we will do it. But, again, cost is the thing we have to, we're limited by cost, unfortunately. I'd like to build the greatest public works facility possible, but unfortunately, we have so much money we can spend. And again, being a taxpayer, we're very conscious of the money we're spending. We're cutting corners. We're taking things out as you speak to make sure that this is the most cost-efficient building we possibly can to meet the needs of us and our public.
Yeah, I'm glad that not only us, but our residents got to hear your comments on that topic, because I'm sure it's of concern everywhere, and not only the people you spoke with.
And just so you're aware, too, on December 4th and December 11th, we're going to have 2 town hall meetings. We're inviting the public and business owners, and anybody in the village can come out and make public comment, and we want to hear from the public. We want to listen to what their concerns are and try to meet their concerns the best we possibly can.
What is the budget, by the way?
The budget for this building, what was the last number, 16? Yeah. 16 million. Oops.
Okay.
$16 million.
All right, yeah, that's all good. And again, if you have anything you want to give me a call, feel free.
Thank you.
It's something that, it looks like it's a well-thought-out project, and I applaud the efforts
Thank you very much.
for everyone at the village, and of course, our consultants.
Thank you. Commissioner Carmichael.
Evening, gentlemen. Yeah, I agree, first of all, that the workout room is unnecessary.
Yep.
The Park District has a wonderful facility in just north of Ogden, and village employees get a discount as well, so.
Yes.
The facility at 55th and Wilmette, could you expand it? You plan to tear down the building,
Yes, sir.
and you're going to be moving the refueling facility to the South Cass,
Correct.
and you're going to be putting in a salt dome.
Correct. We're going to be tearing down the thing that we use as a salt dome now, which really is not a salt dome, but yeah, we're going to be tearing that down and building a new salt dome to meet the needs that we have.
And you'll still be using some outside parking for vehicles.
Yes, some parking. We're going to have we're going to keep the cold storage facility that's there currently. We're going to keep that if we possibly can, depending on how far the contaminated soil goes. But we'd like to try to keep that cold storage there. Keep an end loader there for salt movage and gravel and dirt. Basically, it's going to be a material storage facility with a salt dome, a new water tower, and really that's basically it.
And what's the time plan on that new water tower?
Well, that new water tower, unfortunately, that's going to be on hold for a little while because we're trying to meet the needs of the north side demands with our development that's going on in north side currently. We need a new water tower on the north side, so that's the first one we're going to build. Once that is completed, then we're going to work on getting this one replaced. We do get that water tower inspected every year from a engineering firm, and they say it's structurally sound. It's in really good shape. The reason we want to replace it is because of the footprint. It takes up a large area there, and again, it is over 65 years old. We'd like to try to replace it with a 1 million gallon storage tank because it's storing more water right now. That only holds 500,000 gallons of water. Right now, it's a recommendation. It's not a requirement, but it's a recommendation from the EPA to have 2 days worth of water storage. And right now, we can't meet that need. Our average daily usage is about 2.6 million gallons of water every day. So we need 5.2 million gallons of storage. Right now, we have 4.6. So with the new water tower on the north side and increasing this one to 1 million gallons, it'll meet our needs plus any future growth that we have in our town.
All right, thank you. And I'm trying to, once you tear that building down, someone driving along or people living across the street, the view of that facility is going to be essentially the same from the outside as it is now, or?
Oh, we're going to landscape it, and we're going to beautify it too. Unfortunately, we're going to have to tear up all the soil first, and it used to be a city dump, so I'm not sure what we're going to find once we start digging up the soil there. But once that's all done, we are going to, re-landscape it, re-beautify it. We're going to use it as an opportunity for stormwater to make that area can be improved with stormwater management. We're going to use that area right now. We have we call it a berm, but it's just a low stormwater detention basin that's there now. We plan on enlarging that a little bit to handle some more stormwater for that area. Because if you come down off of 55th Street at the top of the hill, all that water tends to run this way. Well, we can manage that a little bit better. So that's another advantage for us doing this, is that we're going to have a bigger stormwater detention. We'll be able to manage stormwater a little bit better in that area. And then we'll keep all our material storage in one area, so people along the tracks won't see that material storage. It'll be in this area back where nobody else can see it because the fence will cover all our storage there. So it'll be pleasing to the eye, better than what it is now. That's our goal. And then also with the new water tower there, currently we have to allow the contractors to get in to access the tower. We're going to build it so they'll have their own access to it, so they don't have to come on village property to access the water tower for the cell towers. So, and then the cell towers will be inside the water tower. They won't be on the outside like they currently are. If you ever drive by, it's not very pleasing with the new water tower will have everything on the inside, so you won't be able to see any of the cell tower equipment. It'll just look like a water tower.
How's that work? How do you?
They build the tower, prefab it to manage that. It'll look like part of the water tower. You won't see lines running up the side anymore. If you look at South Tower on 63rd Street, all that stuff's run on the inside. So you don't see any wires on the outside of that tower. This will be the same way. Same thing with the one on the north side. It'll be the same way. So it's better for the companies, and it's better for the village because it doesn't look as awful as the one at Central Tower does currently. So.
Okay, well, thank you. Yeah, I agree that these projects are timely and are needed, and we got to move forward with them. I just had one question about how do we currently do snow removal with the employee parking on the main facility?
You mean
do you have to haul the snow out?
At the water department now?
Yes.
How do we remove the snow now? Well, right now we get in. We have guys on standby. They start at 4 o'clock in the morning, so they plow all the snow out before anybody shows up.
Do you truck that off, or do you have?
Well, we do both. We have an area around the water tower that it's kind of tucked in between the water tower and the current water department. There's a little area that we kind of pile the snow up there. If it is a large amount of snow, we do truck it out.
And that'll be the same way with the new facility?
Yeah. We work with the park district. They allow us a couple locations that we can store snow. until it melts. But it's only happened a few times where we kind of got a little overwhelmed with snow, but that was, if you remember back in, I think it was 2013, we got to 20 inches of snow. We were a little overwhelmed. But that was, hopefully that won't happen too many times, but if it does, we'll figure out a way to get rid of it, to truck it out.
Okay, well, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Van Buren.
Yes, I look at the current facility and the four things that you're requesting, none of which are the special use permit. Of course, you're going to be using the same space for the same reason. Reduced front yard, no problem with that. Fence heights are fully understandable, and I feel that you've thought about this long and hard. You feel best, you know best how to, what you're gonna have to be doing, and so I'm fully in agreement with what you're doing here.
Thank you.
I think that's my turn now. I have one concern and then several questions.
Okay.
We'll start with the concern, and this one, I would sort of echo Commissioner Lavoie's comment. And it may be just our drawings, which, you know, obviously this is what we get in our packets. Am I seeing two-tone brick on the outside of that? It appears like there's a striping. It's hard to really tell what
Correct.
I'm
There
looking
is a striping, if we can get to the elevation. Can they go back? Oh, thanks. Yeah, the building will have a striping to kind of break the scale up off of, from the street. Yes, it's a different
Okay.
color.
And then on the eastern side of the building, so are those vertical windows then going up and down? Is that what I'm looking at, or are they metal panels?
Those are windows, but they're translucent windows that will, are trying to make it more, so we could break up the facade a little bit. But those are directly into their workspaces. On the first floor, they have shops. The second floor, there's a mezzanine. So it's really, one, it brings light into the spaces, but then public can't really see into them or get into them. And it breaks up the building.
Which is exactly my point. So this is a long building.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's previously been not much there, and I agree, what's there is not very pretty. So this is certainly an increase in aesthetics and beauty. However, you know, we're looking at many, this commission has been charged with reviewing plans for many big projects, three of which have just been fenced off in the last week. And are getting ready to develop. There are 2 or 3 more coming, and then there are some more in the pipeline. So I think it's important that we make sure that as we rebuild the downtown area, that this becomes a cornerstone piece. And I think the western half, I like it with the glass, and I like the entryway, and of course, you have a little more room for trees and stuff there. I got that. And this side, I understand you've got machine shops and stuff like that. But I think, you know, Chris brought up the flatness of the roof line. You've got this, it's a half block long building almost. And it looks the same at some point, you know. I'm just trying to think, are there ways architecturally to break this up even more, to add more color to it, to put a pattern in it, to put some waves in the brick, or, yeah, and when I say waves, I'm talking about, you know, different patterns or something like that. Awnings, just something I think should be considered, because it's a long look. The one advantage you have now with the dumpy look is that you can see through it. Now we're not gonna see through it anymore, and it's gonna be great for screening from sound, noise, dirt, all trains, all that kind of good stuff. But if it's too much of the same thing, it's gonna get sort of boring after a while, if that's what you look at, because you live across the street. Any thoughts? without breaking the bank, I understand.
I can mention one thing that we've looked at and we're still considering is some type of trellis system on the building and between the windows that'll take care of some more landscaping. It'll give it a more of a natural look, not such a brick hard look.
Softens the
Softens the
edge.
whole side. The roof line, unfortunately, we looked at that, it's just the cost is, to break that up, it just adds to cost that we just can't afford to spend on. But the front of it, yes, the front of the building, we can look at a lot of different
Crossing's
options.
not a bad idea. I think One West Quincy is looking at that option.
Correct.
Running along Cass, so there's some parallels we bring as we take architectural components from one project and bring them to another project. So
Right.
I'm not gonna go ahead and make stipulations, we're not gonna go ahead and have a motion on that, but I think we need to be concerned, if this building was half this size, I'd have less of an issue.
Right.
But this is a long building.
It is a long, thin building.
And it's going to get even longer if you get into whatever phase it is when the water part comes down.
Right.
And so, I'm thinking there's going to be more office, so you're going to probably mirror the glass, the
Yes.
windowed part more.
Correct.
And et cetera. But anyway, that's my one flaw that I see with this. And I would just give that some thought. Trellising would be one area. There's a couple of different things. That also brings some green into it.
Okay.
I didn't see anything in here. Are there any solar panels going up on this roof or anything from a green initiative or any kind of certifications from that standpoint?
We looked into, that was something the Environmental Improvement Commission asked us to do, and we are taking every step we can to try to make this as green as possible. Unfortunately, to become LEED certified, I was going to add $2 million to the project, and it was just something that we couldn't justify doing, but we're looking at using recyclables in every chance we get. We're looking at, everything we can possibly do to meet any kind of green standard. We'll never get to a LEED certification. It's just, we don't have the money to do that, but we will do everything we possibly can to use recyclable material in this building, whether it's flooring or lighting, fixtures, desks, chairs, whatever it is, we're looking at all different options to try to meet that.
I understand that. My comment would be based on solar. You have, once again, the problem with the length of the building lends itself well because it has an enormous southern face
Yes.
and exposure for solar panels. They can be on the back side of the building, nobody's gonna see them. It seems like you could power several buildings with what you could put up there on that rooftop. And I just went to an energy efficiency seminar sponsored by ComEd and the 3 gas companies, and they're doing some amazing rebating now on some of that stuff. Might be worth looking in, or at least having the infrastructure put in to be able to make that conversion, or to even start with it in the beginning, because, as much as we talk about a half block or a block of looking at the same wall, on the other side of that, we've got a whole block or a half block of solar panels that all face south, and there's no trees, there's nothing blocking them, it's perfect.
I did attend the Donnelly Stevens, is that the one you went to?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there too.
Wow.
So I looked at,
I would have bought you lunch. Oh, was it?
Singh could have
Included.
talked about this too, but we weren't with ComEd because it is a new building. We're working with them because it's a great opportunity for us to take advantage of some of their initiatives that they have going on. You can do that with a new building. Converting an old building is a little more difficult, but we have a great opportunity here with a brand new building. So we are working with ComEd. I don't have the exact numbers. Singh might know, but we're working with them to try to cut some of the costs with light fixtures and other things that we're doing.
Yeah, and I don't think we have the exact numbers yet, but kind of throughout the process, we've had several stages where we've kind of given ComEd our plans and they kind of assess them. And I think at the next stage, when we get close to the end, they'll kind of look at it and give us more suggestions. And I think, if they bring up, solar panels, for sure, we'll look into that. But, we can
Well,
look
I
into
wouldn't
that based on
hesitate
your-
to bring those up yourself. Sometimes
Sure.
I wonder whether there's a reasonableness to them wanting you to put up solar panels.
Sure.
But certainly, by law, you're allowed to feed back into the grid any excess. And I would think you've got an opportunity there to power several buildings off of that frontage that you have, that square footage. Next question, I don't think I heard anybody talk about detention. So can we have a brief discussion about detention, please?
Yes, and I think that goes to your point about the detention in the back and the proximity to the water tower or the water tank. We are planning on underground detention in the back there.
Vault type?
Yes, it's the precast concrete vault detention. The way that we had it planned previously, almost every square inch of kind of open space, we have detention under there. Since the previous set was submitted, we've kind of talked with the board, and there was some detention that was kind of reserved on this site for other development kind of off of the property, and it was kind of decided that that was maybe too expensive to do this detention here, so that's been removed. And the one thing is for sure, like the areas that are closest to existing structures and even the proposed structure will kind of pinch back on the detention to give us a little more room there. And I think, yeah, so it's all underground, buried in a vault.
We just want to add one thing to that.
Sure.
We're also planning on detention for the other part, the water department current building, because at some point we are going to tear that down. So right now what's proposed is detention for the new building and detention for the water department.
Okay.
So
there'll be excess capacity initially?
Correct. So then when we go to build the new part of the water department, we don't have to worry about detention that already be there. So it's just cost effective to do it all at one time than do it twice.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I totally agree with that. You sort of addressed this with the staging of the different projects, but with the current water building, so right now, you're really not touching that.
No, we're not.
So they're not going to be joined, you're not putting a new doorway there where.
Nothing yet.
So basically, at the western end of the new building, there's an entryway, and that's where we're going to have a gated fence that can open. I don't know if you have a drawing up there that has both properties on it, including the access that currently exists behind Haraldson's.
Not in these pictures.
That, I guess we could use that one then for right now. So tell me about, how does the flow work? So employees come, let's start with employees. Employees come to work in the morning, what do they do?
Okay, so what the employees are going to do, they're going to come in the far western gate.
Okay,
Right
so
by-
from
right by-
behind Haraldson's.
Correct, because once its development happens, its S-curves get moved back.
So that'll be a street at that point.
Correct, this will be a street right here, it'll be part of the S-curve going around like this.
Yes.
So they're going to pull straight in, go through the gate, they'll park here, they'll walk to the building, go into the entry door here. There'll be a time clock that they can punch in right there, go down to their offices, to the garage area, or go upstairs if they're a supervisor or foreman, they'll be upstairs. Water department, same thing, they'll come in this way, they'll go into the building. Now when they leave at the end of the day, they'll come and get their car, they'll come out, they'll go out this gate, okay? The way the flow works right now, though, vehicles, dump trucks, equipment will come in, there's a garage door here, they'll come in this way, there's parking stalls going this way on both sides, and they'll come out the gate here and exit out onto Wilmette. These will kind of somewhat line up, I mean, it doesn't show it really too closely now, but they'll be able to come right out, you can go right down Wilmette or go down Burlington this way. So everything's going to flow west to east.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense now. Okay, I didn't understand that at first. I sat back there for a while, and I was watching. It's amazing how much traffic goes.
There's a lot of
There's
traffic.
trucks in and out of there all day long. Wow.
So even with the new proposed street
Yes.
alignment, there will still be a west gate in the
Yes.
same place?
Yeah, there'll be three gates, gate
Three
here,
gates.
gate here, and a gate there.
Okay.
We don't know if that's going to happen.
That's correct.
Pardon me? Oh, sorry, I was just trying to show them.
At this time. So while we're talking about the gates, what would we expect? So we know that we're talking about a 6-footer. Is it going to be a nice looking? I'm not sure how to describe gates, but is it a pretty gate, Mike?
It's better than the current
Yeah,
gate we currently have. Oh, go ahead, you can go ahead.
I didn't see any photos of that really, or anything, or pictures, or.
Yeah, I think it's, so that, the one on the right there shows generally, I mean, it's a ornamental kind of black, whether iron or we've looked at aluminum as well.
It's not gonna have that plastic slanted diagonal stuff that always starts to weather and deteriorate and look
Oh,
like.
not going to be chain link.
Okay,
yeah.
so this is gonna be some type of wrought iron?
Yes.
The proposed future trees along the railroad right-of-way, why is that future and not part of Phase 1?
It's actually we're probably gonna get it done before this project's actually done. So it's actually, I'm working with Gary Weber right now to come up with a design. It's in the budget currently right now as we're speaking. So the idea is to actually do that before this building's even built. So it'll be done.
That's a strong point with me, as you probably know, and I hope that we can see that to get that cleared and get that done, because.
Yeah, I'm working with Monica at Gary Weber right now. She's trying to work on a design for us to kind of come up with a plan. We're only doing the north side of the tracks for now, because if you go on the south side, over by where Bales Hardware is and the new Park District building, that slope is so steep there, it's really going to be difficult to come up with some kind of plan, so we're kind of holding off on that side. But on the north side, from where our property line starts, where our salt dome is, all the way to Cass Avenue will all be, that's all part of that project.
Fantastic, happy
We're
to
going to
hear
work with
that.
Clarendon Hills, and just so you guys are aware too, work with Clarendon Hills and Downers Grove to try to get some kind of, what's the word I'm trying to think of?
Master plan.
Yeah, kind of so they all blend together.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
it all looks normal.
Yep.
And Clarendon Hills is on board. You know, I've talked to their economic development director there, and he's excited about this project too.
Cool. Currently, on this property that's going to be developed, and/or the water one for a future phase, is any remediation necessary there?
Or you can talk about that.
So we did do an environmental kind of assessment, and there was nothing like definitive that was found. We do have it in the budget that some soils,
Little
just,
spills and stuff?
yeah, things like that. That's what we anticipate. And we have some contingency kind of in the budget for that. So, yeah.
Okay.
That's what's expected.
This one's probably for Mike. So if this all goes ahead as planned over the next few meetings or whatever the time, can you give us, and we're not gonna hold you to this because I know that, I don't think there's still a lot of Ts to cross and some Is to dot. What's a proposed timeline look like today?
Okay, so our original goal with this whole thing was, because you're all aware, Village of Westmont is going to be turning 100 years old, November of 2021. We wanted this to be part of that, great celebration of a 100-year anniversary. So the original goal was to, go out to bid sometime in spring of, late winter, early spring of 2019. Hopefully put a shovel in the ground sometime late summer, early fall of 2019, and have this project done sometime middle of 2020 into 2020. It's going to take about a year to build the entire project. So when January 2021 comes up, this building's already done. We've already moved in. We're already starting to remediate the other side, the south side where the water street department currently is. All of that, and then hopefully by November 2021, we'll have a new fueling center, a new public works facility, and the street division lot that we're currently at will be somewhat cleaned up by then. That's the goal. To say, this is one of the projects that we were striving for the 100th anniversary.
Is the North Water Tower included in that, or is that post all of that?
Well, I'd like that to happen. Unfortunately, we're going to use the state revolving fund to pay for that. It's take a 20-year loan out. It's a low-interest loan from the state. It's something that you can use for any kind of water infrastructure and projects. To go through that whole process, it takes a year just to get the loan. And then once that happens, we got to work with the high school, because we're proposing it to be at the high school. It's going to take another year or so to build it. If everything in a perfect world happens, that should be also done by November 2021. But again, that one's pretty optimistic if we can get it done by then or not, but hopefully soon after.
Okay.
Greg, just a quick question. Yes. The zoning ordinance requires variances and special uses to be exercised within 1 year from the date of approval, or they automatically become void.
Okay.
And it sounds like construction may start after 1 year in this particular case, so something we should, if you guys can double check and remind me that in the ordinance approving this, perhaps we can build in an extended time period.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. I have no further questions at this point. Is there anyone on the commission who, Commissioner Lavoy?
Of course, I'm dovetailing off of your comments, but, you know, we can offer, you know, some other thought process here, where I did a public works facility in another town, and it was right next to a residential property, and it was done with hardy plank, residential-type windows. It wasn't precast, it was a steel frame building, and it was much less than the budget. And the facility stored over 50 vehicles inside. That gives you some idea of what it could be done. Is that a precast solution?
Yes.
Okay, I just, you know, I think that there might be some cost-saving opportunities, but I would offer up further discussion for that.
Okay.
'Cause it could, the facade can look totally residential across the street from a totally residential property, and we'd have a much better project for less money. So anyway, just offer that up and be more than willing to help
Okay.
staff
Terrific.
and Steve, whoever you want, be glad to help.
Okay.
All right. Any other commissioners? All right, I'm going to close the public hearing at this point. And I'm going to ask, are there any further comments from staff or from our village attorney? All right. All right, we have before us 4 parts to this particular presentation. And so we will take a look at each one of them. Keep in mind that with regard to A, B, and C, we already have our findings of fact distributed to us, and your vote for or against will also include the findings of fact for that. All righty. I will entertain a motion then for Planning and Zoning Item 18-019, the Village of Westmont regarding the property located at 39 East Burlington Avenue in Westmont for the following. A special use permit request to allow the addition of a new administrative and vehicle storage and maintenance garage building.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Van Buren, second by Commissioner Carmichael. Comments or questions on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Lavoy?
Yes.
Commissioner Carmichael?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Buren votes yes, and Chairman Pill.
Yes. I will entertain a motion for item B, a zoning code variance request to reduce the front yard building setback.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Carmichael, second by Commissioner Van Buren. Any comment or discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Lavoy?
Yes.
Commissioner Carmichael?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Buren votes yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
And Chairman Pill.
Yes. I will entertain a motion for item C, a zoning code variance request to increase the maximum height of the fence located in the front yard.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Thomas, second by Commissioner Lavoy. Any comment or discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Carmichael?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Buren votes yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Lavoy?
Yes.
And Chairman Pill.
Yes. I will entertain a motion for item D, a site and landscaping plan approval.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Van Buren, second by Commissioner Carmichael. Any discussion or comment on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Van Buren votes yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Lavoy?
Yes.
Commissioner Carmichael?
Yes.
And Chairman Pill.
Yes. So gentlemen, you have our recommendation that will be forwarded on through these gentlemen to the village board, and they will contact you for a Thursday night hearing before the village board for these items as well as a couple of the other special ones.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much,
Appreciate it.
appreciate your presentation, best of luck with the project.
Thanks.
All righty. Planning and zoning item 18-020, we are going to publish and we are going to carry that forward at our November 28th meeting.
So that's withdrawn, no actions needed.
Correct. Now, planning and zoning item 18-021, Illinois Cafe and Service Company LLC and 6601 South Cass Avenue LLC regarding the property located at 6601 South Cass Avenue in Westmont for the following. A, a special use permit to operate a video gaming cafe in the B2 General Business District. I'd like to entertain a motion to open and continue that, please,
Until November 28th.
till November 28th.
So moved. Second?
Motion by Commissioner Lavoy, second by Commissioner Van Buren. Any comments or questions on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Lavoy?
Yes.
Commissioner Carmichael?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Buren, yes, votes yes, and Chairman Bill.
Yes. All righty. So we have a few things that we'd like to cover under miscellaneous this evening. The first one, and I will turn to Marty, I'm not sure, did you still want to discuss, Bruce, I'm sorry, communication?
Yeah, one of the questions I had in my first couple days on the job is how best to communicate with you. Maybe after the meeting tonight, we can talk about the village's email system. I believe everyone has a village email. So I just need to get that and make sure it's up to date. And if there are alternative methods that people would also like in addition to that, we can talk about that as well, or?
I recommend always just using your village email for village business. And the reason is, if we ever get a Freedom of Information Act request or get involved in litigation or receive a subpoena, they're going to want all of your communications. And if you keep them on a private server and the opposing party wants to engage in e-discovery, they'd have the right to come in and look at your personal computer potentially. And it can get a little bit complicated. So by all means, use the village email for your business.
And does that mean you shouldn't use two emails with one of them being that?
You can use two, but I recommend that if you're responding back, only use your village email.
Okay, I like that, yep. Next up, staff is going to begin preparing the 2019 schedule, and the meetings will, of course, be on the second Wednesday for 2019. I myself am happy with the 7 o'clock time. Is everybody okay with that?
Yep.
So I would recommend that we maintain the 7 o'clock time as you go ahead and begin to prepare this for publication on January 1st.
All right.
I'd like to just make sure that our public knows and everyone knows that there will be that special meeting then at 7 PM on Wednesday, the 28th of November, and the next regularly scheduled meeting will be at 7 PM on Wednesday, December 12th. Do we have any projects that can be updated for anybody here?
Want me to do that? Yeah, the, other than the upcoming one, special meeting on the 28th, we have 2 or 3 new projects are going to be noticed. One is for the Burger King down at 63rd and Cass for a remodeling, essentially remodeling of their site, some minor site plan revisions, but mostly remodeling of the existing building. We also have directly across the street from the village, a gentleman who is improving and expanding by vertically going up at 16 West Burlington, a building, an older historic building, I think adding some residential units on a 3rd floor and making other improvements. That will require a site plan review. No zoning issues that we're aware of or anything like that, although I do have to look at parking a little bit more closely to make sure we have a good answer, but we don't expect there to be any variances at this point. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the 3rd one. I should have wrote it down. For now, I think at least that covers the bigger ones that I'm aware of.
Okay.
How about the demolition of 63rd and Cass? When will that begin on the?
So they're ready to start. They've got to do some asbestos remediation first and some environmental remediation. The developer has just recently, like within the last week, closed on the property. And they're working with one tenant to relocate that tenant, so they might start the demolition in some phases, but they're hoping, first of the year.
Thanks. Anybody else have any other comments, or?
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah. All righty. Well, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Thomas, second by Commissioner Carmichael. All in favor?
All right.
Aye. We stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone.